Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
Mario Götze! Mario Götze!
Tonight, whether you call it football, or soccer, a German American and a German in America dare to call it Fußball. German football from an American point of view. Let's add some buns to that hamburger and join them for the Schnitzel Boys Deutschland Hour.
Ja, Bayern sind deutscher Meister. Bayern sind deutscher Meister. Bayern sind deutscher Meister. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna take it.
Congratulations.
No,
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Is that even your team? You consider yourself a Bayern fan?
Yeah, I'm a Bayern fan. Did I tell you what I got? I did tell you what I got. Might as well. Driving in the California desert, I found this on clearance. It was meant to be, baby. Got the receipt there. Here we go.
Oh, you still got the tag on.
Frisch gebackene fan.
You bought it after you won the title.
I had to wait. You gotta hedge your bet. It's Vegas. I gotta hedge your bet. That's
hedge your bets.
There you go. Hey, FC Bayern München. $10. Well worth it.
Well worth it. Congratulations. Congratulations on your bargain and your Bundesliga title.
Blew my mind. We waited. It was a 12 long months. I was like, yo, when are we going to win another 10 titles in a row again? But today's the day. Today's the first of our next 10. So I'm really excited and should be a lot of fun. But the big deal wasn't necessarily the title. The title represented a couple of big deals. Like Daniel Young, Schnitzel Cup from here said in the chat, congratulations to Harry Kane for finally winning a title. Harry Kane finally ends his goal drought.
His title drought, not his goal drought, but
title drought. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my English friend Mark Faison, he says Bundesliga doesn't count, so the curse is still
our four
is still active according to him.
Well, if that 1966 Jeff Hurst goal counts, then the Bundesliga title counts. That would be my response.
Too. All right, I will tell him.
Yeah. Bayern Munich beat Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid's next coach, to win the title. And they won a title. Not only is it Harry Kane's first title, which does count. I don't care what. I've never met a group of people so cocky about a sport that they invented and haven't dominated in 100 years. Everybody else would be ashamed. You know, like it would be like, that's our sport. Imagine if Americans could win baseball and basketball titles or football titles.
Well, that happens on occasion.
When
the US, they've lost Olympic titles, they've lost world championships to Germany most recently, and that is
but does that count?
That causes some upset, yeah.
Well, that's a few and far. Imagine, so that would mean in the world of soccer, the English national team wins the World Cup every 10 times, and every now and then someone sneaks in and grabs one. That's not the reality of it, okay? They invented the sport, and now they can't even play it. But that's
keep waiting for it to come home.
They're very confident about it. They can wait all day for it to come home. They just don't got the skills for it. Everybody else does.
All right.
So that's my response to an Englishman saying a German title doesn't count. It's like, yeah, you wish.
All right.
You wish it don't count. It counts, baby. And it is Thomas Muller's.
I don't think. No, go ahead. What's that?
It's Thomas Muller's goodbye. That's the biggest part of it all.
Yeah. What is he doing?
End of an era. Well, LAFC are really, really, really trying to get him. I don't know if you saw this, but LAFC offered a Beverly Hills mansion. They offered a free golf course subscription to all the best golf courses in SoCal. This is real, by the way. I'm not making this up.
Thomas Müller doesn't want to live in a Beverly Hills mansion, does he? Maybe he does.
Don't speak for Tommy Mueller.
But
you know what that screams to me? Like, it's like, I just don't get it, because it's like, we'll talk about Marco Reus in a second, I guess. But like they're offering him a Beverly Hills mansion and a free golf course and all that stuff. It's like, he's a rich man. He could just move to LA. Like, why? Clearly the motivation isn't for him to play soccer there. They want him to be an ambassador for Bayern at LAFC because Bayern and LAFC have a partnership. And it's like nothing screams like retired and retirement league than being offered all this stuff just to be there, but like not really playing soccer. You know, why even be on the roster? Just if I'm Bayern Munich,
Well, it's also
I'm like just let him go to LA without joining LAFC. I mean, what's the LAFC part of it?
it
You know what I mean?
it also doesn't really work, you know. It's not like, I mean, has Marco Reus created any more fans for the no, it's the opposite.
No.
It's off-putting. These
Marco
people come,
Reus just
these
supervised
people
a
show up
7-0
as
drubbing.
supposedly you know, legends of the sport, and then people are like, this guy doesn't look like he's any good.
Also,
So-
LAFC, like I would support it for me. That's like just me and a handful of Bayern fans would show up and stuff. But like LAFC is full. There's no seats available. So it's not like they need a star to fill the
like that.
stands or anything.
I
And you know, in
mean,
LAFC,
Thomas Müller is not going to move the needle, is he?
he's only going to move my needle. And the Bayern Munich fan group here in LA, we meet for fan parties. By we, I mean they. And they're 2 to 3 person strong at best.
So
Sometimes
it's only a couple needles to be moved.
4 needles, I think, between 1 and 4 needles. Me, the head of the group, her husband, and then the one guy who shows up sometimes. So for the 4 of us, it'd be a big deal.
Your needles would be moved.
Now, I don't mean to disperse the LA Bayern group. They do like in big events. LA is a unique beast because A, people don't go to bars here, and B, the games are at 6:30 in the morning. So it's not like in New York. Like the
Yeah,
Bayern
that's
fan
crazy.
groups in Miami and New York, those bars are packed. Here in LA, we get a decent crowd. Like I was there for a big event once when LAFC and Bayern were there to film, and there were like 20 to 30 of us there. But that's about a cap. You know,
It's
for like a
the-
Champions League final, there'd probably be around 20 to 30 of us there. But on average, it's only a handful of guys because it's 6:30 in the morning. But anyway, what I'm saying is that group I'm talking about, the LA group, we're the Thomas Muller group. Like that's for us. And for some Germans in SoCal, national team fans, Bayern Munich fan, like you know, I think it'd be a hit for them. But the reality is LAFC does not need this.
Hmm,
So,
right.
but I'd be fine with it. It'd be good
And
for
you
me.
would think that the Olivier Giroud transfer already has cautioned them somewhat, but I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess people are just, hope springs eternal. I also, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could be, maybe I'll be proven wrong, and then I'll happily admit to that. But like, he just does not strike me as an MLS type guy. He doesn't strike me as wanting to go to LA necessarily. He doesn't strike me as his playing style is sort of dependent on being on a good team. I would think.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of the guy who is his biggest quality is kind of arranging himself around the other players that are on the team and finding his niche on these groups, whether it's the German national team or whether it was Bayern. Like he doesn't strike me as a guy who would go on the, you know, go on LAFC. I mean, LAFC at this point is very much I mean, whatever. Obviously, everything's malleable, but and Steve Cherundolo is leaving, blah blah blah. But like, they're very much a counterattacking team at this point in time. That is not the Thomas Müller.
Well, he'd be coming off the bench.
Suit.
I
So-
agree with your assessment, by the way. Thomas Muller, like, I understand, agree with your assessment because, like, the great Gerhard Struber once said that MLS is like, we'll talk about him in a second. MLS.
Yeah, there's so much to say about Gerhard.
There was a
No, go ahead.
Gerhard Struber, when asked about MLS to his, like, I don't know, European counterparts or whatever, Gerhard Struber said that MLS is like championship with a Latin flair. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty good.
Oh, all right. I
So
have
you
not
look
heard
at it, very physical, also very dependent on the Argentinian and the South American player to do individual whoop-de-whoops up top. And yeah, Thomas Muller ain't that. Thomas, like you said, Thomas Muller is the space finder. So Thomas Muller's entire career is based on playing high-level football with high-level players. Like he's the one who can orchestrate moving and finding space. If he did that at an MLS club, he'd be like, all right, kick it up the field, do that. Like the soccer IQ, MLS clubs don't have that kind of soccer IQ. They're just the way an MLS game works. It's just a bunch of people losing it in midfield. So it's just like, so yeah, I agree with you. It'd be very interesting to see Thomas Muller in an MLS game. However, I think we know the answer to that. It's much like Marco Reus in an MLS game. Very, very anonymous. But I'll give LAFC a lot of credit. LAFC, I think, have cracked the DP code, at least in their own way. They haven't cracked the DP code like but they have their own way of doing DPs, which is enjoy the name on the shirt, let him hang out on the bench, let him be positive guys, but they're not dependent on them. They were not dependent on Chiellini. They were not dependent on Bale. They're not dependent on Giroud, and they won't be dependent on Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller is just a dude hanging out for the press. They don't need him on the field.
Yeah, why?
The only DP they've ever needed was Carlos Vela, and like that's a different thing.
That's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be continued. We will see. I mean, so many transfer things to talk about, but should we still?
I'm hearing a lot of feedback here. Is that you? Is that me?
Are you
hear the same feedback I hear?
I just heard a little crunch, but I don't hear any feedback currently.
Yeah, the crunch ended it. That was weird. I wonder if that was you or me. Anyway, it's a little audio thing. I think we're back to normal again. But Thomas Muller's already said no to Italy, and he's got MLS and he's got, I think, Saudi Arabia breathing down his neck. He himself hasn't said anything other than he's ending at Bayern München this year. He hasn't said he's not considering moving somewhere. But I wouldn't be surprised with you if he just calls it quits. That's the end of it. I wouldn't be surprised. Because it's like, what more is he supposed to do?
And then
also, he has a wife who's very established and loves life.
And then just become, just transition immediately into, take his seat next to in the peanut gallery of blowards next to like Oli Kahn.
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah, Oli Kahn's not there. They got rid of Oli Kahn.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. That's right. He's not anymore.
Next to Ernest and Kyle Henselman. But that's the thing. We were saying goodbye to Thomas Muller. That's the end of an era.
Right. Well, we're saying goodbye to many players. We're saying goodbye to the entire team of Leverkusen, basically. That whole thing.
Well, they stayed an extra year.
They stayed an extra year, and they really maybe shouldn't have. I don't know. A little bit of a. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh, this was the second best season in club history." Okay. A little disappointing. That
can't be true, by the way. That can't be true.
No, I think that's true.
Who's telling? Nothing was more successful, maybe on a point stance, but any Bayer Leverkusen fan will tell you the 2001-2002 season is the best season they ever had since last year.
Well,
I mean, they got 3 silver medals in a row like that year, so it was a little disappointing. But it was a good season. They just lost the last spot the last day. They lost to a great Zinedine Zidane Real Madrid in the Champions League final. And when was the last time they won the Champions League final? And then I think they lost the DFB Pokal final that year. So it was a disappointing year of 3 silver medals. But are you telling me this season's better than that season?
I mean, that's according to what's his name? The sporting director. What is his name? Rolfes? Simon Rolfes? He thinks
Rainer Kalmund?
No, not Rainer Kalmund. He's Rainer
the fattest man in the history.
Rainer Kalmund follows me on Twitter for reasons
really?
I cannot.
He's on Twitter?
I cannot. I have like literally 100 followers on Twitter. But one of them,
it's nothing but the elites.
One of them is Rainer Kalmund. I haven't checked it in a while, but he was for a while. I mean, he follows kind of everybody. That seems to be.
He's still alive?
Twitter strategy. Yes, he is. Anyway, Simon Rolfes thought the season was a big success. I disagree. I think they had many chances to make this a closer title race, but couldn't be done, even though they kept everybody. But everybody was already thinking about next season, perhaps. Defensively, they weren't as good.
Yeah, also compounded with the fact that Dortmund and Leipzig shot themselves in the foot. Like Dortmund and Leipzig were not challengers this year.
Yeah,
Leverkusen's real challenge was Bayern München, and then so Leverkusen ended second place. But where else were they going to end? I mean, nobody
second
was
place by like
11, a
Um,
lot, right? 15
by a
points.
lot, yeah. It was like, I mean, it was, and Bayern, it's like Bayern is now 79, Leverkusen 68. Last year at the end, we had, wait a second, what am I doing? Oh, what was it? They had 90 points last year. This is a 22 point. Well, I mean, if they win next week, it's like a 20 point drop
Yeah, it's a lot.
for them. Bayern have fewer points than they had last season. They finished third. They have fewer points now than they had last year. So actually, that's not true. They have a few more points. I'm wrong about that. But Leverkusen dropped by 20 points. Why? They kept everyone. It's kind of a
Right.
mystery.
Mentality. Because last year was a special year. I mean, you can't recreate last year. Enjoy the last
But
season.
20
The fans are there
points.
for that.
I mean, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a lot. That's more than Bochum made all year.
Yeah, it's about the same.
About the same as all Bochum,
Actually.
100%.
Well, is that
Bochum
where
at
we're
22. Yeah, well, but with that being said, Leverkusen for them, second place. There you go. Xabi Alonso off to Real Madrid, Jonathan Tah and Florian Wirtz off to Bayern München. It's looking
We
right.
don't know, though. We don't know. Well,
We
Xabi
don't know.
Alonso.
These are just assumptions. But
Xabi Alonso is going to Real Madrid. That's, I think, almost official. I don't think it's been announced. He sounded, when he said goodbye, he sounded like he definitely wanted Jonathan Tah to come with him. He had so much praise for him, not just as a player, as a person.
are you telling me
It
the
sounded
Real
like,
Madrid, the Real Madrid back two next year will be Tony Rudiger and Jonathan Tah?
I think it's possible.
That'd be great for us. If
I
they know each other,
mean,
they play well. They're Real Madrid's back line to be Germany's back line.
I
Sign me
don't
up.
think. I mean, I think Bayern are gonna really fight because they need him. They need him more than Real Madrid does, maybe. Although, you don't know.
Well, Real
But,
Madrid just lost the title, and they have money, so they're off on a spending spree.
But it's really the midfield where they need help. But I think he would be a starter for them for sure. And the Florian Wirtz thing is also a mystery. There was a lot of talk that he had already signed a pre-contract with Bayern, but that hasn't really been confirmed. And Simon Rolfes says he doesn't think that's true. They want to keep him. Leverkusen wants to try and keep him. There's also City were on the radar there for a minute, Man City, and now Real Madrid also are emerging there. I don't know. That's also still. But I also read today who's going to be Xabi Alonso's replacement in Leverkusen.
By Leverkusen?
According to Kicker and the internet. Yeah, I guess.
Let me guess. Is he German?
He is not.
Okay. Is it Xavi from old Barcelona coach?
No.
Is he Spanish?
No.
Is he Dutch?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Peter Bosch again?
No.
I do know Erik ten Hag.
Erik ten Hag.
I read this. Erik ten Hag.
That's the word on the
That's a decent appointment.
That's the word on the street. It's a decent appointment. Why? Based on what? He was
the hottest coach. He's been in Germany as part of the Bayern München youth squad. I think he speaks German, so Germany isn't foreign to him. He was Ajax's super coach, and he was the hottest new coach. He led Ajax to a Champions League final. And then, and look at Ajax now since he's been gone. And yeah, he sucked at Manchester United, but I don't blame anybody for that at this point. I mean, who gets the blame?
Everybody sucked at Manchester United.
I mean, he is a top level coach, and if he goes somewhere where he has a little more in a less toxic environment, where he's got good reins, I think that's a good appointment. Erik ten Hag is a solid appointment. I think he's a good
Leverkusen. I guess Leverkusen is a good job for him too, because it's going to be Champions League, but expectations will be moderate, I guess, if everybody leaves. So yeah,
I thought last summer Erik ten Hag would have been a good appointment for Bayern München before they did the Vincent Kompany thing. He's one of those guys. Germany buys in the bargain basement. So he's a dude who's a very solid coach. His reputation has been damaged. So, the biggest clubs aren't really after him, but Bayer Leverkusen still, That's a
is the-
perfect,
is the
sensible
top- is the-
Bundesliga
the
appointment.
top level that's available to him. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, good luck to him. I mean, this is not official, but I guess it's all just now.
Who else
and
would
then
it be? The only guy I'd bend over backwards for is maybe Hoeneß from Stuttgart. And
Well,
Urs
Hoeneß
Fischer was
is
just
good.
picked up by Köln. Thought
RB
about that.
RB Leipzig. The word is that they're trying for Oliver Glasner or Cesc Fabregas, perhaps. Are
I
the
think
two
Glasner
names?
is a great pickup.
Yeah,
But
except
Glasner's
I don't think
booked in
Palace-
England, right?
I think Crystal Palace would have to let him go. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think German teams don't have a habit of paying release clauses in, for double-digit million pounds. I don't think that's
No.
something that Bundesliga teams do. So maybe not, but we'll see.
Release clause.
We'll see what happened. We'll see what happens there. RB Leipzig is going to miss the Champions League for the first time in their history.
4-year history, yeah.
In
4
their
years.
whatever. Well, it's been more than 4 years, right? How many
I know.
years?
I'm
But
just
they
playing.
made the Champions League immediately on promotion and have not looked back until now. And that team also is potentially gonna lose a lot of players. Everybody's for sale. Openda, Šeško, Xavi Simons. Everybody can be had for the right price. So that team's also gonna fall apart.
But that's how RB Leipzig operates. That's how all German clubs operate. It's like you can hang on for a bit, but then it's time to move on.
Then once you get into the 60, 70, 80 million range,
It's for sale.
you can't hold. You gotta take the money.
Take that money. Borussia Dortmund last summer were the first club to actually make a stand, and I love it. We'll see what their summer looks like. And also honorable mention Eintracht Frankfurt for really reinforcing last year. But under Niko Kovac, it's finally swinging, and I'm hoping it sets up for a positive follow-up season for Dortmund under Kovac.
Dortmund had a huge weekend with
over Leverkusen.
Yes, but that was part one. Part one was their 4-2 victory in Leverkusen, and that was a zippy game. That was a fun game to watch. This was not. I mean, this was one of those. The result looks pretty clear cut. It was not like that. Leverkusen in the beginning, they hit the crossbar, they hit the post. They looked like they were going to crush them. But then in the end, Dortmund very efficient. They had, I think, 6 shots on goal, scored 4. Like it was a little bit of fortunate performance, but ultimately also impressive. They've been defending okay after the first sort of half an hour. And then on Sunday, the big thing to them is that Frankfurt failed to win against St. Pauli, which means, and Freiburg the day before, they won in Kiel. So this means that it's up to Dortmund. If Dortmund, because of the schedule, Frankfurt and Freiburg are playing on the final day. So if Dortmund is at home against Kiel. So if Dortmund
should be a gimme, yeah.
If Dortmund win by 2 games, they
2 goals.
2 goals. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
If they win by 2 goals against Kiel at home, they will be in the Champions League no matter what happens. And and that is no small thing because they came from nowhere.
Yeah, no, the Dortmund resurgence is real. We talked about, are they going to make the Champions League, and it's looking like a very real possibility.
Now it's in their hands. They needed a lot of help before. Now they've come this far, and it's up to them.
2 goals at home against an already relegated Kiel. It's a safe bet.
Seems
as
possible.
Vegas would call it, it's a safe bet. Good for them, but what I'm saying too with Borussia Dortmund, what I alluded to a little bit earlier, is they're going to be one of the clubs that this summer they're not losing players, right? I mean, they're sticking tight. Maybe they'll get some reinforcements again, like last summer.
Probably, yeah.
But we're not talking about people other than Giorena finding a new club, but that's unrelated to losing a player in form. That's just a player who needs a new club. Borussia Dortmund are going to keep their form moving the next season, I believe, which should make them hopefully a formidable opponent to Bayern München next year.
Yeah, I mean and they're going to get hopefully. Yeah, I mean there was it's pretty remarkable that this resurgence, because they had not looked good for a long time, and even under Kovac, this was not instantaneous. There was a anyway.
Yeah, there was a
It's
transition period. And I'm looking at the numbers here. I mean, you see, Eintracht Frankfurt has a 20 goal difference
right,
and 57 points.
right.
Dortmund has 54 points and 17.
That's right.
So if they win 2-0,
Yep.
they'll get 57 points and 19. So they'll be under Frankfurt.
Well, but if Frankfurt
And then
win,
if Freiburg,
because they're
beat
playing
Frankfurt,
Freiburg.
got it.
If Frankfurt win, then
Freiburg-
Dortmund gets past Freiburg. If Freiburg win, then Frankfurt's
it.
goal differential will suffer, and they will get past them.
So it got it. So even if they tie,
If they
Freiburg's
tie,
out.
then Freiburg's out.
If
Freiburg now have to
Freiburg
win.
wins, Frankfurt's out.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then if
depending
Frankfurt has to
on-
win to stay in.
Freiburg,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
Freiburg win, Frankfurt's out if Dortmund can win and make up the
So-
goal difference.
So Dortmund, Freiburg, and Frankfurt next weekend are doing kind of the last thing we're all looking at. They're doing the Champions League musical chairs shuffle. That's what they're
Right.
doing next weekend.
Yeah.
Of those 3 teams, 2 will be in the Champions League, 1 will be in the Europa League, and it's really up to, it could be either of the 3. Mainz Mainz and Leipzig are kind of tied for the Conference League.
Which
But
could
it's looking like
become-
Mainz is going to get Conference League, which is good for
But
Mainz.
the 6th spot could become a Europa League spot if Leverkusen wins the. No, not Leverkusen. Who is?
Stuttgart?
Oh, it's Stuttgart. Oh, never mind.
Right.
Oh, never
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Stuttgart is in
versus
the
third
final.
division.
Oh, yeah.
Third division.
All right.
Bielefeld, right?
So that's the
Yeah,
Europa
no,
League
that's-
spot.
So Mainz is in the Conference League, pretty much, unless Leipzig steals it from them next week, which is very possible.
Which they could. Yeah, they're even on points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's
and
small potatoes. And the other interesting thing is that the biggest thing that's been up in the air up until last weekend was the basement, right? The relegation battle. I was rooting for my boy John Tolkien in Kiel, but Heidenheim, they pulled it off. They got themselves some points. And it's getting crazy where Heidenheim isn't just in the relegation playoff. There is a chance, not much of a chance, but
it's a small chance.
it's a very, very small chance. But technically, St. Pauli and Hoffenheim could also end up in that relegation.
Well, not St. Pauli.
Yeah, not with that goal difference. You're right. Look at
I
the goal
mean,
difference.
St. Pauli they have 13 goals to make up in one game.
Right.
That's probably probably not going to happen. Hoffenheim
Hoffenheim and Heidenheim though have 6 goals.
have
So if
6,
it's like a 3-0 and a 3
and you would
loss.
think that that's probably not going to happen. Except Hoffenheim
Right.
are playing Bayern, so there's that. I don't know.
True.
Bayern are going to Ibiza. That was a bit of a story this week that
Oh,
the
really?
president they have 2 days off and they were like, let's all go to Ibiza to celebrate. How would you say Ibiza in English? Ibiza.
Ibiza.
Ibiza. Ibiza. And at first the president said, don't do that, it's in bad taste. But then he said it's okay. Because now really the games are not that meaningful. Nothing really is at stake.
What's in bad?
Also, they have
what's
like
in bad
2
taste?
for them to have a party in. I mean, I don't really get it either.
They're
Like
done for the season. They have one
they
game.
have
left.
one more game. Yeah. But it's like they don't want to wait until after the last game because everybody's going their separate ways. So they wanted to do this before. And they all have like 2 days off anyway. So it's
Right.
like whether they all go together someplace or everybody just parties on their own. Like, what's the difference? Anyway, there was it was a mini scandal, but now they're going to Ibiza. And so maybe they will have something to prove. They'll have to beat up on Hoffenheim to make sure people know that they're not slacking off. I don't know.
Or
But
there's
it's
only
still-
or Hoffenheim's going to go to town on them. Who cares?
Or Hoffenheim
They're
will
right.
go down on them. Who knows? So
Their season
most
is over.
likely,
They're
most
right.
likely Heidenheim is in 16th place. Unless something pretty intense happens, then it would be Hoffenheim. And Heidenheim, do Americans even differentiate between Hoffenheim and Heidenheim? Probably not. Nobody no. Does it
No,
make
they
a
don't
difference?
know. And here's a little nerd Germany thing. Hoffenheim isn't even Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim is in Zinsheim,
Right.
which is like a little town outside of
Another
Hoffenheim,
Heim.
right?
Another
And
Heim.
Hoffenheim is essentially a little town outside of Heidelberg, right? Is that
Ish.
kind of what it is?
Yeah, that
Ish.
in the Hesse.
Heidelberg's sort of the nearest big school, and Heidelberg was a big German college town.
That's where
My It's where my mom went to college.
that's where I was
68.
conceived, Heidelberg. I think I've said
Hey, was that a rock metal concert at the college? Was that a Hoffenheim game? Well, Hoffenheim didn't exist then.
no, they didn't exist then.
Hoffenheim, the brainchild of Dietmar Hopp, a German computer magnate. But so the big thing up until last week was the basement, and it's been settled. Holstein Kiel and VfL Bochum are heading back down into the next division for next season.
My poor team finally put out of its misery.
I've been seeing all the very positive online Reddit and Facebook posts from Bochum about how they are Bochum and they are strong and so it doesn't seem.
I mean, nobody's
all that bad.
This has been a long time coming. It's not like anybody was shocked. It's been so. I mean,
this year was borrowed time, wasn't it?
I said before. I mean, I am often wrong with my predictions. This is one thing I got right. I said before I mean, not entirely, but I said before the season that they would be in contention for the worst points record in the history of the Bundesliga. And they were. They had 2 points out of their first 11 or 12 games. So they were on track for one of the worst seasons.
They doubled it, dude.
In history. And Dieter Hecking came in and he found something. He made them, I guess, at least somewhat respectable to not, but it was always going to be. And then there was a weird, here's a stat for you for VfL Bochum. Since January, VfL Bochum has won 2 games against Bayern and against Borussia Dortmund. Those are the only 2 wins that this team has had since January. I mean, riddle me that. I don't know. After and those came in somewhat quick succession. There was a tie in Leipzig thrown in there, and there was a moment of like, oh, they're gonna do this, because on paper the schedule was getting easier, and these were big wins, and it seemed like things were happening. But that was it. Since then, 2 points. Since the Bayern win, 0 wins and 2 points.
And I called it, by the way. I said, when you have that rough string of games, I'm like, Bayern München's the only 3 points you're going to get.
That is true. You did say that. But did you say, when you didn't say, oh, and then after that, you're not going to win again for the rest of the season?
No, I was rooting for Bochum through. No, the soccer psychology is a beast that knows no tamer.
It's just wild. But this was not a Bundesliga level squad. It never was. There were a couple of decent pickups over the winter, but like it just wasn't. There was just not enough quality, and this came down to the reason we were even competitive is because these other 2 teams also mightily struggled, and no one's gonna perhaps make it to 30 points. That's unusual. So, but then even on this last one, Kiel had a lead, or was looking competitive against Freiburg. Heidenheim got a 3-0 win at Union Berlin. The Bochum game was over after 20 minutes, and there was just no question. And the results came in. I mean, the Heidenheim win made it totally irrelevant what the result even would have been. So it was not close to the end. There was 22 points, 5 wins total, one of which only came because the goalie got hit in the head with a lighter. I mean, it was just not going to happen. And so now,
an eventful season full of news, not 100% related to soccer. It's a lot of non-soccer.
The lawyers got 20% of victories in yeah.
Here's one. So here's one for you. Bring up Heidenheim. Frank Schmidt, the Heidenheim coach, who took him from the 10th division all the way up to the top flight, or wherever it was. Maybe not 10th, but
from the bar, from the bowling alley, from the back of the bowling alley to the Bundesliga.
To Allianz Arena to beat Bayern. He's of all the next up and coming German coaches, he's earned his stripes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Schmidt ends up at a RB Leipzig. Or
what?
Like
no.
At some point.
He
At some
brought
point, he'll get you.
he brought Heidenheim all the way up, and he's going to bring him all the way back down. He's going to be there forever.
Well, if Hoeneß leaves Stuttgart and goes to like a Bayern or a Leverkusen or a Leipzig, then Frank Schmidt will go to Stuttgart. There you go. And the stock market goes up. And
I
it goes
really doubt it. I really doubt Frank Schmidt will coach another Bundesliga team other than Heidenheim. But we'll see.
You must know Frank. You must know Frank Schmidt better than I.
I don't know anything. I'm just speculating.
He's going to turn down $10 million a year to stick with his Heidenheim. Who knows? But maybe. Who knows? Maybe he can't leave the house. Who knows?
I mean, who's gonna? Well, all right.
You got to earn your keep. But anyway, Holstein Kiel was a little bit different. They had a really great late push. This is their first ever time in the top flight, at least in recent memory, and they themselves enjoyed themselves. But Holstein Kiel ultimately is a lower league club. They did have to have a temporary expansion of their stadium just to play in the top flight. Or maybe it's permanent. They just made a big south stand there. But they learned the hard way. You got to sign John Tolkien earlier.
Going back
Sign
down.
him too late. They're going back down. And I'm curious if Tolkien will stay with them or try to find himself a new top flight club. We'll see.
They must have. I mean, do you know what the contract is? I guess we don't know, but they must have. I mean, they played it.
Sometimes you write it in. Sometimes it's
they
written
paid
in
a
like
they
you have a
paid a
relegation
transfer.
clause.
They paid a transfer fee. They have to. They
Right.
have to have a contract that's valid for the Super League, or else why? That would be
Well, it could
that'd
be
high risk. Or
Some
maybe he has
other
a-
players have a relegation clause.
Or he has a release.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, they
he
were.
was
They
only
knew,
he was only $3 million.
yeah, but that's the highest. That's more than Kiel has ever paid. This
No,
is
I know,
not-
but
that's big money for
means-
those teams. Like
I know,
and
but
then-
what I'm saying is the relegation release clause could be $3 million, so that when he goes
Right, for
down,
them
another
to-
club will
right,
just so they
right.
break even either way.
Sure.
And $3 million is a bargain steal for most top half flight clubs. I think Eintracht Frankfurt pays $3 million for a backup left back. Why not? Or Gladbach, get Joe Scally and John Tolkien out there. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Or like the Eredivisie will spend $3 million. They can get their $3 million back. But yeah, so I'm curious to see what that is. There's a question from the chat here, Bjorn.
Oh yeah.
Hello. First off, hello, Hans Wolf. He's there. Hello, Hans Wolf. Good to see you again.
Hello, Hans Wolf and Daniel Young.
We're about to talk about Colin in a second, but before, Bjorn, is there any update on the James Sands injury recovery? The Jimmy Sands injury recovery. He joined Zampoli in the winter and was really excited about it, but he got a terrible cruciate ligament tear, right? And he's been out for quite some time, since February. Is there any update on
and a
James Sands?
fractured bone and yeah, terrible injury. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I don't think he's close. Just guessing. This was in February. I think this is only 3 months ago. I think if we see him again before Christmas, I think everybody would be excited and happy. I think would be my guess.
Yeah, let me pop it in there. Let's see. A torn medial collateral ligament and a fractured fibula. Let's see if there's a recovery time on this.
I think this is like, it's roughly a year.
Yeah, 16 weeks to heal a torn MCL, from a few weeks to several months, depending on the grade of tear. And then fibula fracture, usually divided with initial gradual motion of strength. A full recovery from a fibula fracture is 12 to 16 weeks. That's per injury. So, it's going to be.
I mean, all right. Well, maybe it'll be earlier than Christmas then. Good for him. I don't know.
Sometime next year. Sometime next season.
Sometime next season. Yeah, he was never going to play again this year. That was definite. And
Zampoli next season will be in the top flight.
Yeah.
Bundesliga.
So
now you brought up a good point.
I think this loan was for includes next season. So hopefully.
Excellent. Hopefully he'll start playing next season. Get his groove back. It's time for Stella to get her groove back. So speaking of the low points with Kiels and your Heidenheims and Bochum, I guess Bochum is an exception. Maybe Zampoli is throwing that club. Neither of them made 30 points this year. The lower two between Kiel and Bochum. However, Kiel and Bochum are going down, but Köln and Hamburg are coming up. And Hamburg and Köln, with their
perhaps.
pedigree, isn't
don't-
that confirmed? Are we sure?
No,
it's not?
Köln is not. HSV is confirmed. Köln is
Oh,
not
but
confirmed.
Köln still needs the last week.
Köln needs one. They need one more point, or everybody
1
else to
point
drop.
more.
Yeah, or everybody. I mean, the third place carousel has been crazy.
Elvis
There's
there.
still, even with one game to go, there's still 4 teams who could make the relegation playoff spot, and 3 teams who could still make it all the way, make it up directly. If Köln and I mean, Köln got a sort of last minute win in Nuremberg, so that put them in a good spot. But they
Big, yeah.
have Kaiserslautern at home, and everybody else is on the road. Elversberg, Paderborn, Düsseldorf, Kaiserslautern. Everybody else is on the road. So who knows? But probably Köln.
Well, anywho,
But Köln have
and
the-
then,
they
and then
have
also with the relegation playoff spot, let's pretend it's a Kaiserslautern or a Magdeburg.
It's not
Then
Magdeburg.
they have
It's
Oh,
not there.
well,
They're
look at
they're
this
done.
guy.
It's Elversberg right now, and
or Paderborn or Düsseldorf.
Paderborn and Düsseldorf and Kaiserslautern,
Kaiserslautern.
still have chances. Yeah,
And then they'll be up against the Heidenheim for thing. So there still is a chance for Hamburg, Köln, and someone like a Kaiserslautern.
I mean,
maybe
Köln,
play up.
they need a tie at home against Kaiserslautern. If they don't get that, they're going to be upset.
They're toast.
They've
And it's
had a
looking
lot
good
of
under
they've had a
Friedhelm.
lot of chances, and they've dropped a lot of points. But Hamburg, HSV, after 7 tries, they had what was it, last year or the year before? They already stormed the pitch in Sandhausen, thinking they had made it before they found out that they hadn't, because of a stoppage time goal of Kiel, I guess it was. So they've been through it, those fans, and so now they're going back up. And that I watched a little bit of that game, even though I said I wasn't going. But yeah, and that was again on paper, it looked 6-1, no problem. But that was a nervy thing too. Ulm took the lead. They had a penalty early. They could have been up 2, and it took a while for it to turn. And then the floodgates open, and people stormed the pitch. I saw some video today of the aftermath, like of what the field looks like now. They really, hopefully, they'll have time to
And to fix it.
regrow that grass in time for the next season, because that field was destroyed. So yeah, good for them. Congratulations, and Köln probably to follow. Although
I'm rooting. We got our Colin Schinzelkopf. They got rid of Gerhard Struber.
Yeah,
That's the big
I mean,
news.
we haven't talked about that. They
We'll talk about
fired.
that.
They had, with 2 games left, they got a tie against. Got a tie at home against last place Regensburg, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. They were like, we cannot take this chance. They were, I guess, behind the scenes, they had been unhappy with Struber. Who?
Right.
What could be the reason for that? Possibly such a stand-up guy, but they were unhappy with him. The Sportdirektor said he wasn't going to fire him, so the board then fired them both. They were like, we said getting promoted right away was not necessarily the goal, but now that we're this close, we don't want to. We do want to go up, and so they brought in Friedhelm Funkel for 2 games. To be like the emergency get us over the line guy, and he succeeded in Nuremberg with the late winner. So they got the first 3 points, and now they only need 1 more, and then his job is done. And Urs Fischer, right? You were saying is
going to take over for the Bundesliga season next year if all goes to plan. But that's very rare. Like, I was about to call him a Feuerwehr coach. It's like, no, that's not it. What's a coach who gets, if the team was leading and then they're in a promotion spot, and then 2 weeks to go, they fire him and replace him with a guy for the final push? What's that coach called? Like, is that even, how often does that happen?
But he's the guy, because he has been promoted 7 times. So
yeah, but hold on. I'm going to give some justice here, okay?
Justice for Gerhard?
Is Gerhard Struber.
Justice for Gerhard?
If Friedhelm Funkel takes them to the promotion dealy with 2 games, is it really him who did it? Or is it Gerhard Struber that did it?
it makes no difference.
That's asking you how you feel. I'm saying factually.
Gerhard Struber will
uh,
not. If I say Gerhard, you did this, he won't feel any better. It will make no difference in his life.
I don't
mean,
think Gerhard Struber has ever finished a season, by the way. He's never had a complete season in his career.
so you were
And
saying
he
he's
keeps getting hired.
gonna coach Real Madrid next.
For 3/4 of a season, he'll be fired by March. And Gerhard Struber will, to this day, still have never finished a soccer season as a head coach.
He is just an enigma. I mean, it was a total shock that he got that job. It was
Right.
even more of a shock that he
But it was
did
working.
did as well as he did, got them in promotion position, but still,
And I would say this is even more of a shock that they fired him with 2 games to go. That is crazy.
I mean, that's I guess that is how much do you have to hate your coach?
Right.
If you fire him with 2 games to go and you're in second place with a chance of promotion.
And
But I
that's
guess
not the full story, by the way.
the flip side of that argument is, like, if they clearly didn't like him, so they would have been
Right.
They would have been like, we don't really want to keep this guy, and it's even hard if he gets them promoted. That's even harder to fire him then, right? That'd be the counter argument. If it works out, then he becomes kind of.
Yeah, but hold on. But the proof is in the pudding. Like, you hate him, but if he brings you up to the top flight, you stick with him. You did like you got to enjoy the results. But that's not the full
clearly that's
story.
not
What the
what they
full
wanted.
story is, he's the sport director's boy. And the board told the sport director to fire him, I think, early,
yeah.
and he
Oh,
refused.
earlier even, okay.
So they made a decision to be like, well, I guess we have to fire them both.
Fire both.
The sport director so Struber's gone with the sport director. They
So-
both took the blame.
How much do you have to hate a coach if you, with 2 games to go, you're in second place, ready to be promoted, you want to get rid of him so bad you're willing to fire everybody who stands in the way.
Just burn it to the ground. Hire a guy who's done it 7 times before. I mean, it will probably prove to be a good move. Our Coneheads in the chat, what are your thoughts? Do we have?
I sent them that water drinking clip, which they hadn't previously seen because they don't watch MLS, and they were so shocked they immediately had to take action.
They had to. It was just offensive to water. It was offensive to
It
water,
was just too weird. Daniel Young wants to say, any chance for Tottenham to win Europa League? Sure, they're playing Man
Sure, there's a
United. Why
chance.
wouldn't they? El Shitiko, somebody called it in my group chat, the Europa
man.
League final.
Bilbao.
El
Yeah,
Shitiko,
well-
the Europa League final between Man United and Tottenham Hotspur, who both are racing each other to the bottom. They both lost. They both lost in the Premier League this weekend to become the 2 worst non-relegated teams. They're now in 16th,
We're about to win a European title, by the way.
16th and 17th place, but one of them is going to go to the Champions League because they're gonna. And so,
Get
why
that-
wouldn't it be
that
Tottenham?
title.
Why not? Why not Tottenham? At least they can.
I'm definitely
score.
rooting for Tottenham. Give respect to Man United, though. They won convincingly against the great Atletico Bilbao. Wasn't it like 4-0 or something? They really won that game.
Give respect.
However-
I give zero respect to Man United.
However, Ange Postecoglou, the Aussie Tottenham head coach, who of course I give respect, because anybody from like a non-traditional soccer nation doing well, I take that and I telegraph that to an American, and there you go. But he has never failed to win a title in the second season of his entire coaching career. And if Tottenham win the title, that streak will continue. So if Ange is to be believed, then it's a guarantee that Tottenham are going to win. Tottenham are going to win the Europa League final. But it'll be a fun game. I will tune in. I look forward to it. Where's it at, by the way? Where's that final at? Or where are all the English hooligans going?
I don't actually know.
Armenia or something? Let's see. Yeah, we're vamping.
It is. Oh, where and when is the Europa League final? In Bilbao, of course. Oh my
Oh,
God.
Athletic Bilbao was going to host.
Poor
Oh, that's
Spain.
crazy.
Poor
Poor
Spain.
Spain. But that'll be a fun trip. A quick Ryanair flight
Felix
down there.
Zweier, this is a Schnitzel Boys factoid. Felix Zweier, German referee, is going to officiate.
Excellent. The game I saw, was it Felix Zweier who officiated the PSG Arsenal game and let just everything go? Right? I think it was a German ref. The PSG Arsenal game, which I watched with a bunch of Arsenal fans on the rooftop of a hotel in Las Vegas. It was lovely. But Felix Zweier, I believe, the ref, was just letting everything go. He was just he was just letting it go. He wasn't giving anybody fouls. I'm like, all right.
It's late in the season. Who cares? A little injury
he
here
doesn't
and
care.
there is not gonna make a big
It's
difference.
also German refereeing a bunch of French and English. So he's like, go for it, you guys. Just go at each other. I'm not gonna do much.
I have
It was Felix Zweier. It was Felix Zweier.
Yeah. I have one more thing to say. Daniel Young says he will wear his Mets jersey to the Hudson River Derby. He's telling me. Yeah, I'm kind of dreading that, but we're going to talk about that. On the other side, I have one more thing, and I have to apologize to my friend Ashley Fothergill, who sent me a text that I totally ignored on the previous show. I overlooked. He says, to gentlemen of the Schnitzel Boys podcast, from Bjorn's Leeds' friend. He's a Leeds fan. I've mentioned him before. And he wants to talk about Robin Koch. Robin Koch, briefly and usually traumatically, he says he was a Leeds player during the March months. Most of the players of that era have disappeared or bubbled around Europe inconsequentially. He has gone on to become a successful-ish European player, an international, and I believe on the verge of a move to Borussia Dortmund. I have heard this too. What's the story with him? He was with Leeds such a short time, shorter due to serious injury, but always had a deal of class. The show is awesome. Thank you both, says Ashley. So what do we think? Robin Koch.
Thank you very much.
Robin Koch at this point, not a German international, right? He's not really hasn't been in the squad.
No, Eintracht
Frankfurt are kind of running out of. They were a very, very solidly and he's a lockdown starter for Frankfurt, right? Like ever since he came from Leeds, he's definitely been very solid there. They're struggling now on the even though they've been pretty solidly in third for a lot of the season and good, but they've sold Omar Marmouche, and now on the home stretch they're kind of running out of gas and they need something out of the Freiburg game to make it into the Champions League. But yeah, I think
Robin Koch has been a center back and a back three for them, from Kevin Trapp, returning Kevin Trapp. That's where he played against St. Pauli.
Yeah.
He's a solid dude for a solid Frankfurt. Frankfurt's a third place. They had quite the spending spree over the last year or two. I saw he was
definitely part of the group of players that have brought them back into European contention. They were not close to that. And so yeah, but he's not gonna be in the World Cup next year. Right?
No, he was part of the Euro 2020 squad. Saw that. He's one of those reclamation players. They got him on a budget from England. He probably went to the English Premier League when he was on the way up. And then he got relegated with Leeds and then made his way back to Germany with his tail between his legs, and then found himself he's entering his late 20s, in his prime. And he's serving a formidable piece to Eintracht Frankfurt, which finished third behind Bayern and Leverkusen. So Robin Koch could 100% find himself back in the German contention if he keeps it up, I think.
Well, he's supposedly moving to Dortmund this summer, and they could use him. They could use him because with the Schlotterbeck injury, they've been starting Süle, and he is not ready for prime time. Even though they've been on a good run with him, but he's had some pretty poor games. So they definitely could use another center back, and if he's one of them, yeah, who knows?
Robin Koch is entering his prime, like his second act.
If he can fix the Dortmund defense long term, then he could make it back to the national team. But that's a tall order.
And especially under Nagelsmann, if you're in good form, you're in. If he doesn't care about your club or he doesn't care about long term form.
Yeah. That's true.
It's like if you're ready to go, you're in. So yeah, Robin Koch gets a formidable. He's on his way back up.
Really, the hardest thing, his biggest problem being in England was the pronunciation of his last name. You know, we call him Koch. In the Premier League, they would say Koch.
No, but do you know how you really pronounce that in English?
What?
Cook.
Cook?
He'd be Robin Cook.
Well, if you translate Koch is German for cook.
I know, but I know it's true. But I also know, there's a New York actress. Her last name is I'm gonna spell it. You tell me how you'd say it in English. Mengelkoch.
Mengelkoch?
That's how you'd say it in English?
I think so, probably.
Her name is Mengel Cook.
Mengel Cook. All right.
You have to avoid the cock or Koch.
Premier League, and I mean, I'm sure Ashley can confirm this. Premier League commentators, without hesitation, will call him Robin Koch. No question about it.
Well, whatever.
Anyway,
water off a duck's back.
He was like, enough of that. Back to Germany, where they can do the Koch. All right, that's it.
That's it. So things are essentially settled. The only thing we've got our eyes on is that Champions League musical chairs next week. Will it be Dortmund? Will it be Frankfurt and Robin Koch? Or will it be Dortmund with next year's Robin Koch? Or will it be Freiburg, those dastard clubs?
Will Robin Koch sabotage his old team in order to help his new team?
Hey, does he have it in him?
Does he?
Will Dortmund get the points against lowly Kiel? Will Bayern München recover from their Ibiza vacation enough in time to have a decent 90 minutes? All will be seen next week in our final week of the Bundesliga. And then at the end of the month, we have the DFB Pokal. And that ends it for Deutsches Fußball.
And the Club World Cup.
But after Eintracht Frankfurt is done, Eintracht Frankfurt have Louisville City and Philly Union later in the summer.
Let's go.
A lot of the German clubs are coming in to do some summertime USA ATM summer of soccer. So,
all right. Well,
catch them all you can.
Good for them, I guess. Just see us on the other side. My other team sucks too. So,
my team is a great enigma. Who knows? Who knows what's going on?
Our teams both played last place teams, and it went very differently. Let's just say.
Yeah, we had another red wedding. You guys had a.
This was the yellow wedding. Was it the yellow wedding?
What? Right. Montreal and yellow. All right. Well, cheers, everybody. We'll see you in the next hour or next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,